And now it's time to get into the action phase. Now, during the action phase, pretty much all the combat, all the installations and everything happens. You go into your action phase right after the charge phase, and during your charge phase, that is where you should make sure that you charge accordingly to be able to pay for your cost during the action phase. And I will now explain on how to install cards, programs, use programs, activate programs, and what else you can also do, as well as what your opponent can do during your turn. Now, let's just talk about installing cards first. So, you select a program card from your hand, and then you do a download action. So basically, it's my turn right now. I call out, okay, I want to download a program from my hand to RAM. Therefore, I place this program into the program zone, face up, and then I pay the cost. Now, the cost, as we already talked about, is determined by the cost on top right, with the second number disappearing, becoming 0, if the character has the corresponding mastery, the same icon. And therefore, RAM right here gets to play this card for free. If I were to install this to Lasagna, for example, who does not have the mastery of this specific card, she can still install it. However, I would have to pay the cost from my charge into cooldown free, as all cards go to cooldown free, leaving the field. So now we have installed our program basically, and during your action phase, you can now do as many downloads as you want to. You can also do as many card effects as you want to, and there is no order. So you can download card effect, attack. Attacking this game is technically a card effect. And then do another download, another attack, or do all your downloads first and then do the attacks. That is your strategy to choose. Now, this action of downloading a card, it's called download because it's separate from installing. So download, pay the cost, and then the card is installed. And as soon as the card is installed, all the manual card effects may be activated, all the automatic card effects with the double blue, like this here, also activate, while of course the card effects with the global, the triple, are always active. Now, cards have two states. The vertical state, like this one here, is called the active, enabled state, and cards that are enabled, they usually come as enabled on the field and can use their card effects. However, if a card is disabled for some reason, all the manual and automatic card effects no longer function. The global ones still do, however. Some card effects might disable the card after use, and as we already know, during the turn start, both players may enable all their cards. There is one thing your opponent can actually do during your downloads. Whenever you download a card, that is step 1, you also have to step 2 pay the cost, and then step 3, before the card is installed, your opponent may actually do a cancel action. To do this, your opponent must call out and cancel, and then they have to choose one of their characters that has charge, and that character may now cancel the installation. You do this by having the character pay the full cost. Let's just say, for example, your opponent chooses to use Pyra for this. Pyra now has to pay the full cost of the card that is to be installed, being 1. In this case, mastery does not matter. So Pyra may now pay 1 card, which of course goes to cooldown free on their side now, and therefore your card is now cancelled and instantly deleted before being installed. Now, the cancel mechanic is limited to once per turn per character, so each character may only cancel once per turn. And also, there's one more limitation. Whenever you download a card, characters can only download programs that are of their level or below. So Ram right here as level 2 may download this card as well. However, Wicked, for example, cannot download this level 2 Double Saber card. All of them can do the level 1, of course. And Lasagna here is level 3, so she can do pretty much anything. The canceling is the same rule. So if Ram were to download a Double Saber in this case, which has a 1+1 total cost, let's see, she has the Mastery, that's what you check. So the second number becomes 0, therefore she has to pay 1. And now your opponent may cancel. The opponent cannot use Pyra or even Mikune in this case for canceling, as they are not level 2 or above. So in this case, Memory is the only one to cancel if she wanted to, and she would have to pay the full cost, which is 2. So she could do this, and therefore this card is now cancelled. Of course, Memory can no longer cancel during this entire turn. Now, both players can cancel during either player's turn. And yes, this also means your opponent can install cards, or rather download cards, during your turn. However, this is limited to what is called the reversal, right here. Cards with reversal can be downloaded during your opponent's turn, and they can also be downloaded as a kind of a quick effect during another effect, which will put them in front of the other effect's activation then. This is what reversal does. And since we're on the topic of card effects or card rules that apply during download, there is one more we need to talk about real quick, which is the remote tag. Now, above the name we have some card tags. In the final version, these will also have the box brackets. I will add those to make it more clear that these are also tags. However, these tags above the name have actual mini card effects. And as we already explained, reversal will allow you to download this card even during your opponent's turn or as a quick effect. Now, remote and reversal both have the same color. This is because both of these interact with the download command. Remote, however, is a little different, as that remote, first of all, it's only useful if the character that downloads the card also has the Mastery. So let's just check. Wicked here has the Mastery, so I will now download this card to Wicked. Now I have to pay the cost, which is 1+1. Through Mastery, it becomes only 1. Wicked pays the cost. And now I usually would be installing the card. However, with remote, we can now choose to install this card to any of our characters. Of course, when installing cards, always make sure the maximum megabytes of all your programs does not exceed the character's megabytes. So Wicked, with remote, now installs this to Lasagna, for example. And this remote basically allows you to, if you have a character with the Mastery, install the programs cheaper to other characters. That's the only thing remote does, but it is very useful in some situations. Another small information about the canceling. Canceling always happens right after paying the cost. Download, pay the cost, cancel. Which means the opponent does not need to know if or to whom you install the card afterwards with remote. That is a choice you make after your opponent decides to cancel or not. And now we have to talk about card effects. For activating card effects, we can only activate the manual card effects with the green one simple slash. The blue ones, double blue is automatic. Those automatically function as soon as the requirement is met, as well as the triple global. Those are also automatic. Therefore, we only can activate manually these manual card effects. Now, card effects, there is of course the general card effects that have text, but we also have some card effects which are just simply a word or two with these arrow tags right here, like attack is. And these are called common card effects or common actions. This is because these are usually card text, like any other card effect would have. However, they are very commonly used by many cards, therefore I have shortened them into these little little tags here. And I'm going to put up the actual command for attack right on the screen somewhere for you to read if you like, but I will also explain what attack does. So if you have a card that has an attack command, you can activate this as you would any other card effect that is manual by calling out, I want to activate a card effect, which is now this attack. I want to attack with this card. And now we go into the actual effect. Select our weapon or card to attack, then we select a target, one of the enemy characters. For this example, let's just attack the one in the center. We got memory right there. And now the opponent may use a quick effect, depending on how card effects work with their text. For example, if memory had this card installed, it says automatically targeted by attack, and then this effect happens, deal damage. Right? So this is an automatic effect, and it happens the moment we do our targeting. So that means if we were to target her and she had this card effect would trigger and happen first before the rest of the attack. So that's one thing. Other than that, the opponent may also now download programs with the reversal. So let's go with dodge right here. So if we attack and the opponent decides to install a dodge to memory, they can now do this. They have to, of course, pay the cost. Memory does not have mastery for this, so the cost would be 1. But yeah, after installation, targeted by attack, this condition is still met, as we are still targeting the attack, and then the attack does not hit this target. Therefore, our attack would miss and not deal damage. We'll go into damage calculation in a second. As for this, it says targeted by attack. Now, there is 2 versions of the attack, which is /melee and /ranged. If a card effect just refers to simple attack, this is both versions. If a card effect refers to one of the specific ones, for example /ranged, then therefore this would not count, as this is a melee version. But simply attack refers to both versions. The opponent does not do anything in this case, we attack, and the attack hits. So what happens? We take some damage dice here. And the first thing that happens is we deal critical damage equal to crit, which is 2, to the character. And now, after that, if the character survives, we deal power damage, which is 4 in this case, to one of her installed programs. She's got those 2 guns back there, both have 7 program points, and now I can, as the attacker, I can choose which one to deal damage to. I will choose that one right there. If our attack deals enough damage to be equal to or higher than the program points of the program would be deleted. If our attack, however, deals enough crit to deal equal to a total of equal to or greater than the opponent's hit points, then the character would be deleted, and you do not need to do the extra power damage calculation with the programs, because when a character is deleted, you remove all attached cards to that character. Every single card they have, the upgrades, the charges, the cache, and all installed programs, and you place all of them into cooldown free. Only the level 1 character card is then placed back to face down position. This is called a character deletion. And yes, during the update phase we already talked about, your opponent may once again summon their character back. Also, if you delete a character, you deal damage to the opponent's score. The score damage is equal to the character's maximum level she had at the point of deletion. In this case, it was 2 plus 1. So 2 plus 1 equals free, and your opponent now takes free of their score cards into their hand. if you were attacked, let's go with Lasagna right here. So Lasagna is attacked and deleted because enough damage was dealt. All her attached cards, including the cash, are now deleted and sent to your cooldown. And you take score damage equal to her maximum level at the point of deletion, which was free, plus 1. So it's 4, which is a lot of damage if the character was already level 3. And those go straight into your hand, right? Which also means you can do reversal cards if you have defensive cards. It's like a comeback mechanic if you want. And the final thing these attack commands do is after the attack, they deactivate, or rather disable, that's the correct wording, the program. And now let's just quickly go over some modifiers for those attacks. There are 3 modifiers for attacking. It is super simple, really. Let's just start off with shield. You may have, a character may have cards installed that have shield. It looks like this. There's also some card effects that give a card or your character a shield, which would then be written in text like this: 1 times shield. And here it would just look like this: 1 times shield, with brackets in the final version of the game. But yeah, anyway, that's how you gain shield. And the reason there's a number is because shield can stack. If you have multiple cards that have shield on your character, they accumulate. And let's say you have 2 of these installed, that would mean that character has 2 shield. What does shield do? It's very simple. Shield reduces the critical damage, only the critical, of incoming enemy attacks. Strictly attacks. So if you deal damage through a card effect, like this one for example, that is not an attack, then this will not be reduced by shield. This only reduces incoming attack critical damage. And even if you deal 0 critical damage to a character, you will still deal the power program damage to a program. That's what shield does. We also have 2 more things, which is the priority and the hidden. So what these do is they change on how damaging works to programs. Very simple once again. If a program with priority is installed to a character, and this character is attacked and takes damage, programs without priority cannot take damage from an attack. Once again, specifically attack effects. So other card effects may still deal damage. And it doesn't change on how you choose your targeting. So if the opponent's character has, let's say, 5 programs installed, you as the attacker may still choose which program takes the damage. However, if that program does not have priority and another program is installed with priority, that program you chose will not take damage. So you have to get rid of the priority cards first. And the other is called hidden, and it's kind of the opposite. Basically, if a card with hidden is installed, this card cannot take damage from attacks, once again, specifically attacks, as long as other cards are installed that do not have hidden. This, of course, means if all cards installed have hidden, they all can take damage. And if only programs with priority are installed, all of them do still take damage. So yeah, and if both of these are installed, of course, hidden doesn't matter much because we already have priority. And if a card, for some reason, one single card has both hidden and priority, then the hidden is automatically removed. Cards cannot have both hidden and priority. Priority always prioritizes over hidden. So yeah, that's pretty much all the extra card little bonus effects they can have through tags. So I got some cards here we will go over in a little more detail to explain on how to read cards and use their card effects. So let's just begin with this one here, the Double Saber. As we already learned, Energy Saber has the attack command, and it's a simple repetitive thing basically. We already know how this works. However, the Double Saber now has 2 card effects. It's pretty much the same card, but it has this extra line right here, which is an automatic effect. This weapon's attack hits twice. So when you attack with this weapon, and it hits, right? So it's not, it doesn't miss because of a card effect or whatever, it hits. Then it hits twice. And this attack, once again, this is like globally for melee and ranged. So if this attack, this was a slash ranged, it would still work, the second effect. And a double hit means you do the damage calculation twice. So you deal critical damage to, then you deal 4 damage to a program, and then you repeat it, do another one. This is basically how you read a simple effect like this. Next up we have a cure here. This one is pretty interesting. It's pretty great because it has a condition in the middle of the card text. So first of all, we have once again these arrow brackets right here with repair. This is another of these repetitive card effects that is just shortened into a little tag right here. And repair simply just means remove damage from. A command like repair to critical damage on an ally Waifur. This means we remove 2 critical damage on 1 ally Waifur. Now, as for wording, there's a reason we have 3 separate little areas. This is because each character has their own cards, their own programs that are installed specifically to them. And when reading a card effect, always read the card effect as if it only refers to the character herself and not the others. So if this card effect were to say repair 2 critical damage on Waifur or program damage on a program, then that would only mean your character this card is installed to. However, since this card says on an ally Waifur, that means this card has a global effect which can go to any of your characters, since they all are your ally characters. So there's basically 3 different wordings here, for if you include the no wording, which is ally, meaning any of your characters or any of their programs. If it says ally Waifur's program, then that means any of the programs. There is also another ally. If the card says another ally, then this card effect would specifically require you to choose one of the other characters that does not have this program installed. So that's why it's called another ally. And finally, there is enemy. If it says enemy, then, well, obviously the effect goes towards one of your enemy characters or programs or whatever it says. Now, this is a manual effect, so you download, install, and then you do the effect. Repair to critical damage on an ally Waifur, any of your characters. And then we have this semicolon, I think it's called, which is it basically splits the card effect into another section. So after this, basically imagine if it says then, right? We have now a condition. We have the round brackets, which is a condition. Repaired Waifur has 6+ critical damage. Basically anything that is in these conditions, just imagine it says if, okay? If or when or something like that. This is a condition. So we already did the 2 critical damage heal, and now if the repaired Waifur has 6 or more critical damage, that means if, let's say, she had 8 and you use this to heal her down to 6, she still has the 6 damage, which means the condition is now met. And therefore, this bonus effect here also happens. Send this card to cooldown 2. So, as we know, cards removed from field automatically go to cooldown 3. This card effect, however, allows this card to go to cooldown 2 instead if the condition is met. We also have this thing here. It's a triple red, which means it's a global card effect. This effect will always trigger no matter if the card is disabled or enabled. And it just simply says, modify this card's cancel cost by +1. So the card has a cost of 0 + 1, which is a total cost of 1. And if you download this and your opponent wants to cancel it, they would have to have one of their characters pay the total cost, which is 1. However, this global effect increases that cost by +1. Therefore, to cancel this card, your opponent would have to pay 2 instead of just 1. And that's how to read this card, basically. It also has reversal. That means you can use this during your opponent's turn or even in the middle of an attack, just as a quick save, however you like to do this. Next up, we have the chain binding right here. This is one of the level 3 programs. And yes, level 3 programs are generally very overpowered in this game. They are meant to be. They are kind of like the ultimate abilities, which is also why they are limited to 1, just as the character cards level 3 are. But yeah, let's just check it out. We have a virus here. These, by the way, they don't really do much of a difference other than some rules apply only to viruses and so on. And they color code the cards so you know what they are for. And viruses usually have card effects that specifically are directed towards your opponent rather than like buffing yourself, which often these blue cards, the supports are for. And weapons usually have some way of attack, while the skills, as I said, are the like one-shots. Anyway, so we have 3 different automatic effects here. The first one is with a condition, install. Again, this is you read this as a if install. So that means the moment this card is installed, the effect will happen. So you download the card, pay the cost and everything, your opponent may cancel or not or whatever, and then installed. The moment that happens, link to enemy Waifur. You link this card to a specific card mentioned in the card effect. So you install it, and this card is now linked to one enemy Waifur. Of course, you choose which one you want to link to.
Also, if a program is linked to a specific target, if the target is removed from the field, delete the linking program.
And this only happens once when the install happens, because since you cannot reinstall this card afterwards, since it's already installed, the condition only triggers once. Second, we have another card effect, which is without a condition. It says linked Waifur loses all mastery and cannot gain new mastery. Therefore, the character you have linked this card to now no longer has any mastery and cannot gain new mastery either. Therefore, you basically block her or prevent her from using her installs or downloads for cheaper, which is very strong. This card also got buffed for the final version. You can see all the updates and changes on the official website, and of course, the moment the game actually comes out, that's when the cards are final. Anyway, and the third effect, linked Waifur cannot upgrade or cancel. And we already learned what these are. Canceling, well, cancel the download, right? So whoever is linked to this card can no longer cancel, which is very strong. And also cannot upgrade. And upgrading was during your update phase, when you can either summon or upgrade. That character can no longer upgrade either. So if you do this on a level 1 character, she's stuck at level 1, unless, of course, this program is deleted. And finally, let's just take a look at this one here. This is once again a skill, one of these one-shot things. It has static, which doesn't do anything other than apply certain card effects to it. And let's just read what this does. We can already see it has crit and power. That means you already know this card will have some form of attack command. And there it is, attack ranged. It's the other type, but it works the same way as the melee one does. And it's a manual card effect, so when you download this and install, you can now use all the effects, so you can attack, and since it's a skill afterwards, it will deinstall, delete itself. So very simple. We've already gone through how attack works, and now let's look at these two other effects here. The first one here says it's a global effect, so this card effect works even if the card is in your hand, with a condition. 4+ cards with static face up in cooldown. So the condition already says, okay, if 4 or more cards, that's what 4+ stands for, 4 or more cards with static, which is this little tag here. Static, of course, it refers to the tags in the first line. It does not refer to cards that have static somewhere in card text. So it has to be in the first line. 4 or more cards with static are face up in cooldown. Now, cooldown is the entire left side of the field, as we already discussed. So throughout play, you might have some different cards with static in cooldown. Why, I will explain in a second. Let's just say there are some cards there. I'm just going to put 4 of them here. They can be in any cooldown zone. You can even have multiple in one. So now we have 4 cards with static and cooldown. So if this condition is met, which we do have now, the card effect now triggers. Critical +1, of course, this only refers to this card unless it would say otherwise. So it increases critical by 1. Now we have free critical power. And a power +5, so this is basically doubled. And gain reversal. So as long as we have 4 cards in here, in total, this card also has the reversal card effect, which is this thing right here. And as we know, if we have reversal, we can use this during your opponent's turn, or even as a quick effect in between. So that is very powerful. And finally, this card, as do pretty much most of the cards that have static, has another card effect that is globally available. It's called, with a condition, deleted. So if this card is deleted, this of course specifically is this card, right? It doesn't mean if another card is deleted, that doesn't matter. It has to be this card. Otherwise it would say if another card is deleted. So if this card is deleted, sent to cooldown as face up. So yeah, specifically this card does not go to cooldown face down as they normally would, because the card effect forces it to go to cooldown as face up after use. And that's how you kind of do the static stuff. There's a lot of mechanics in the game that are similar to this with other rulings and other effects and combinations. And yeah, have fun trying those out. I will do detailed videos on every single character and all their cards and how they specifically exactly work. But generally, if you follow this how-to, and just simply read the card effects and follow what they say, yeah, you should be able to play the game.